All right, we'll start how we always used to, Garrett. It is August 4th, 2021. This is Coronavirus Inside the Arizona Numbers, where we take a closer look at the numbers here in Arizona to help you make the best decisions for your family in your life. We'll have time for questions and comments, and we'll get to many of those. This is not, though, Garrett, where I hoped and thought we would be. No offense to you, of course. Love seeing you, but I feel like you were my 2020 work husband, and now we're back on a date again. We're here again, going through this whole thing.
I was looking forward to not, as much as I enjoy being here as well. I was looking forward to not doing these anymore, but it does appear that the time has come to at least look at where we are.
Yeah, Nicole Elise writing the same thing. Hate that we are even having to do this with you both again, but grateful for both of you. Thank you so much, and thanks for joining us. We're here to answer your questions. So this is to help you better understand what's going on so that you can make the best decisions for your life. Garrett looks at the data here every single day and provides us an update. We just thought it would be helpful for all of you. Cecile,
and we never stopped. We never stopped looking at the data. That's the thing is we even if we weren't on this, and we still tracked it every single day, and that never stopped. And but again, here we are in the midst of another surge. So at least again, it's time to look at things.
Exactly. And Chara writes, oh, I just missed her comment there. You guys are the best part of all this mess. Michelle writes, hate this reason, but welcome back. Thank you for the warm welcome back. We'll try to get to all your questions on all of these things. Garrett can help us dive into it. We're not going to be here every single day. We just wanted to provide you with an update today, and we'll get to as many questions as we can in this hour. So just post them there, and we'll get to that. But Garrett, I guess we could start where we always do, kind of an overview on how all these numbers look for us in Arizona.
Yeah, we'll start at the AZDHS page and just give an update on what things look like there. So let's look at that number of new cases today. So 2,286 cases today. Now, I know that we haven't done this, so there's very little context on that. But what this means in the 7-day average is that we're basically increasing. We're past 2,000 in the 7-day average, and Arizona is increasing its numbers on this number of new cases reported today. It's doubling about every 3 weeks is where we are right now. And that's been consistent for about 3 weeks now, 3-4 weeks. We're about 25, 26 days into this surge, which if you look at the data, started on, actually, it looks like we're about, it started on about July 9th, July 10th is when the numbers really started to pick up. And that's where we've been so far.
So, Garrett, when we're looking at this trajectory, and you and I have been through this so many times before, sadly, back in June and July of last year, in January of this year, is this sort of the same trajectory that we're seeing? Or
so that's actually a great question, Katie. So if you look at, say, this is the case graph of where cases, and you can see we actually have 3 defined surges that we've had since the beginning of the pandemic. When you calculate the slope of these surges, they are very similar. So these surges are going up about 20. When we're in this surge, the case growth has been, as you can see, about 22% every single day, and that's where it has been. But of course, the difference between these surges is the length of them. So you can see that the slope of this surge isn't really different from the slope of the big surge. It just lasted longer. The holiday surge lasted longer. This one lasted about 55 days. So the question, what we're looking at now, of course, is how long is this surge going to last? If this surge only lasts 55 days, then we're going to be coming up on the end here in about 3-4 weeks, and then it'll start dropping again. Or if it is to last longer, it could threaten to the point where we'll get up into these 13,000 numbers, where we're getting 13,000 numbers a day. Now, there's a very, very distinct difference between this surge and the last 2, and that is who is getting infected. Now, while infections are typically always driven by under 44, in this particular surge, it is almost exclusively under 44 that is driving this surge. And in fact, we're seeing an increase, and I'll bring it up in a second, a gradual increase in the percentage by age in the under 20. So let me stop sharing this screen. I'm going to share another screen really quick. This is going to show sort of the surges, and I've got them highlighted. I've got it sort of put together so that you can see where the surges are, where they were. This, let me just, I'm going to get rid of these lines here, so we can just focus on the under 20. So this is starting April 1st of 2020. You can see this is not this is the percentage growth of this particular age group. You can see the second surge. This is a very small surge. I have it delineated into 4 specific surges because of this very minor surge that happened when ASU U of A opened up in September. You can see it's a very short surge, but you can see it was driven exclusively by the under 20 demographic. And then once we got to the big surge, the one in the holiday season, you can see the under 20 actually fell for the most part, and was not a driving force. But here in this surge right here, you can see, unlike the first and the third surge, under 20 is increasing. It's now at about 24% on average, which is very close to where it was at its peak for the year of 2021, which was May 19th. So when we bring in the 20 to 44, you can see same thing. They had some growth, but now 20 to 44 is starting to fall down a little bit. 45 to 54, I'm going to take out the younger demographics really quick so we can focus on the older ones. 45 to 54, dropping. 55 to 64, oh, sorry about that. I got everybody added at the same time on accident. 55 to 64, fairly level, but dropping. And then 65 and over is cratering. You can see this. They're only about 7% of the cases right now on a daily average. Now, that is for the mortality factor and the most severe cases. Of course, this is probably the best news about this particular surge, is that the people that are getting sick are not 65 and older, which we know is the more severe severe group that this could impact more.
Yeah, they're taking this very seriously. Okay, Garrett, I do want to stress, since we're not here with everybody every day, where can they find this graph? Is this somewhere that's out there? Is this yours?
No, this is my graph. I'll put this on. I just made this today, so I'm gonna get this on our website probably in the next couple days, just so that they can have it. But for the other stuff that I put out, that's AZDHS.gov is where you find it.
So I want to remind folks that despite us not being here with you through these past 2 months or 3 months now, Garrett, I don't know. My days and weeks and years are all running together, it seems now. Since March, they have still been updating the AZDHS site. It is a place you can go every single day to update. People who have been here with us throughout the past year and a half know that it's usually updated at about 9 in the morning. Is that still around the time that people can check that out?
Yeah, it runs the gamut, but it does update typically anywhere from 8:30 to 9 o'clock, and that has been pretty typical.
One of the limiting things on all of this, but obviously we're grateful for any numbers and information we can get being released in this manner, is that under 20 group. So we don't have the luxury of having it split like 5 to 10-year-olds, 10 to 15-year-olds. In Arizona, it is split 20 and under. So when we have that number to look at least it gives us some insight, but where can folks find how many of those? I know it was more than 25% yesterday that ended up being in that under 20 category.
So when you go to the AZDHS, and this is a calculation I do myself, but we'll look at the AZDHS number so you can at least find them. When you look at we'll go back to the data dashboard, and then you go to the demographics. And this is where you can find the under 20. Right here is the less than 20 years old. They make up about 17% of cases throughout the entire pandemic, and that's why I'm telling you how this particular group is the driving factor around this particular surge. You've got 17% of total cases, but they're making up 26% of daily cases. This group, 44%, that's their total number throughout the entire pandemic is 44. They're only making up 47% of cases. So while they are making up a higher than their total number, it's not inordinately high like that under 20 group. And you see these other groups, they're all this particular surge, all of these groups have more total percent of cases than what they're contributing on a daily basis right now.
So to remind everybody where to find this, on the AZDHS site, and then it's under the demographics
tab. Yes.
And that's where you can find that breakdown. So if you're looking for that to make decisions for your kids or your family as you're heading back to school, That's where you can find those numbers. So one of the things we aim to do when we host these here on Facebook is to teach all of you where to find this stuff, so that you're able to go through and find this information as you need it, because we know we can't be here with you every day anymore like we were. Julie's asking, how many have died? Julie, in Arizona, we have lost 18,289 people. That is just here in Arizona. I believe, Garrett, that breaks down in Maricopa County specifically to about 10,000 lives.
Now I know that this is one thing about, again, this particular surge. We're sitting here talking about a younger demographic. So because we already know there is no question that the younger demographics have a much lower mortality rate from COVID-19 than 65 plus, which means with this surge of cases, we are expecting to see some increased death. Now, it usually takes about 21 days for deaths to start showing up. So we haven't really seen an increase in the death numbers. We're expecting to start seeing increases in the death numbers shortly. But I don't expect, or anyone really does expect, that these numbers are going to get anywhere near what they were in this surge and the other surge, simply because it is younger people who are getting the virus. Now, that being said, when we go to the data and we go to the hospitalizations dashboard, which is right here, COVID-19 specific metrics, the best indicator of what's going to happen with the mortality rate, and I hate talking about the mortality rate because, you know, it's sad, is the ICU beds for COVID-19. And you can see that this number, while it is not where it was in this first surge, it has increased from where it was in June. It's about 90% higher than it was. As you can see, it's about double, in fact, where it was. And unfortunately, about 30 to 40% of people that are in the ICU are not going to survive COVID-19. We have a ventilator ratio of about 50%. You can see they've increased to about 155. So we're expecting about 75 deaths or so from this number. You know, of people that are on ventilators. That is just a sad reality of COVID-19. And there's just nothing you can do about that. It's just the way it is.
And I remember, you know, a year and a half ago, Garrett, we were looking at these numbers, and we were a lot of times looking at those projections that were coming out. And I remember you and I saying, like, how can this be? I mean, some of them were at 16,000, 17,000, and now here we are, you know, this far into this, and we've lost more than 18,000.
I want to go after some of the loaded questions that are coming from the comments, people talking about the variants and how there's no test for variants. I don't know where in what media ecosystem was talking about there being no test for variants. There is, in fact, test for variants, but they are done at different laboratories. So I'm going to go over how these variants are done, because this has been something that is been in the media, has been out there saying, oh, well, there's no test for variants. How do you know that there's variants? Well, of course we know there's variants. I mean, people aren't just making this up. So, and of course,
and Garrett, as you're pulling these up to share, I can even tell people the saliva test right now through ASU, which they still have sites set up every single day for that. They told me the last test I had to get, they said they are testing all of them for Delta variant. So 100% of the samples that they're getting in at ASU are tested for Delta at this point.
Yes. So I'm going to, thank you for telling me I spread propaganda, Stephen. Then I'm going to spread this propaganda, which is the actual TGen sequencing dashboard that shows the variants. So I'm going to share this really quick. As you can imagine, with everything that's happened for the last year, you know, none of these comments bother me anymore. It's just the way it is.
It's been a lot this year, that's for sure.
Let me talk about the TGen sequencing dashboard and how to read this, because obviously when you look at this, you think, what am I looking at? So how testing works. You are tested for COVID-19 at CVS, at Banner, somewhere. You're just tested for COVID-19. If it is a positive test, the test is shipped to a laboratory, usually either ASU Bioscience or TGen. Those are the two major laboratories in Arizona. They then they sequence that positive test. They do a genome sequence on it to see which variant that test is coming from. And as you can see, looking at this, now the Delta variant everyone's talking about is B1617.2. And you can see right now, 82% of the sequenced tests that were done by TGen are coming from the Delta variant. That is why they are confident that Delta variant is the dominant variant in Arizona, because it's making up about 80% of the tests that TGen sequences. You can see when we used to have these B117, that is the UK variant. You can see back in April, the UK variant B117 was a dominant variant in Arizona. And then it was the dominant variant in May. And then the Delta variant showed up in June and took over about 36% of the cases. And now it's about 80% of the cases. So it is much, much more transmissible than the UK variant, as you can see, because it just took over much quicker than the UK variant.
Yeah, incredible. We can find this on TGen's website if people want to.
Yeah, I will send this to producer Carrie just in case she
Awesome.
needs this.
Thank you.
And this is this is the number. Yeah. Okay,
I was seeing some chat in the comments about things that are going on in Florida, and I really want to ask you if there are any areas that you found that are tracking the numbers very well state by state. One of the things that you and I did over this last year was really compare Florida to Arizona, and it was an easy multiplication, if you will, because Florida has 3 times the population of Arizona. So if you saw Florida having 2,000 cases, or if you saw us having 2,000 cases, you would multiply that times 3, and they should have, if they were running about the same rate, they would have 6,000. Yeah. Well, we saw numbers much higher than that in Florida. So it was helping people kind of put perspective on that. But is there anywhere that they can track now state by state, or have most of those websites sort of shut down for updates?
No, they're still going. So I'm going to show you an old favorite of ours. And this is the 91dvoc.com. I'm already sharing it. I'm ready to go. So this is still, to this day, one of the best trackers for what's going on state by state in a normalized situation for the population. So I'm going to look at the normalized numbers here, because when obviously Florida is going to always have much more cases than, say, Arizona, simply because of the population alone. So this is what we're looking at. I've got Arizona highlighted right now, but I'm going to highlight Florida. And then I'm going to take out some of the states. You can see Florida right here is the second highest number of cases outside of Louisiana. So you can see Louisiana. It's hard to see them all. I know it's kind of grayed out, but it's Louisiana, Florida, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama. So a lot of Sunbelt states. We saw this in the first surge, by the way. If you recall the first surge, this one right here was driven by Sunbelt states as well, because we were in it. So now I'm going to put Arizona back, and then I'm going to take out all states in DC as soon as this renders again. And then I'm going to just do the top 25 states. And Arizona does make the top 25 states, but just barely. You can see it's right here. Our growth rate has not been the same as some of the other states. That could be because our numbers were so high right here that we just have a lot more individuals with natural immunity. And so Delta has a little bit more difficulty infecting population here. That's sort of speculation on my part, so please don't take that as full science, but that's sort of why, to me, it looks like Arizona and some of the other states are not rising as fast as these other Sunbelt states.
All right, so this site is still up and running. We've added it to the bottom of the screen.
Yes.
Angela, you just asked which site was that. I want to make sure that you got the address. So post again which site you were looking for. The one we were just talking about is there on the bottom of the screen, 91-dvoc.com. Glad to see they're still updating that, since we haven't been able to take a look publicly at it with everybody here since March.
Correct.
I want to know in the comments how you're feeling right now with this second surge kind of happening. I was hearing a lot of people say that they're feeling angry, they're in denial. If you had to sum it up in 1 or 2 or 3 words, how would you feel about, or how do you feel about what's kind of going on right now and how this is all changing? I'm interested to see how your feelings have shifted in all of this, and also how friendships have changed. Garrett, have you had any friendships change during this this pandemic?
No, it's obviously the biggest challenge has been just, at what point do we reconnect with some people that we just, lost connection with while everybody was, at home. So that's sort of where we are with the challenge is, reconnecting with some relationships that we had pre-pandemic, but then everybody sort of stayed home,
Yeah.
and now getting back to it. So that's sort
Yeah.
of where my sort of friendship gauge is.
Yeah, Deborah's writing, and Deborah, good to see your name on here again. Feeling defeated. Eaton's writing, I'm scared for my kids. Yeah, and Eaton, if there's anything we can help answer in any of these numbers, let us know, because that's what we want to do, is help, you know, help you feel armed with information when this variant, when these other variants are coming out. And by the way, I say variants with an S because we're talking now about Delta Plus and Lambda. We've had 1,000 cases in the US of Lambda. That one started in Peru, and then Delta Plus just taking hold. For those of you on Twitter, maybe you saw that. That was trending last night. I know that this is a really heavy topic all the time, but it's nice to sometimes go on there and see some of the lighter comments as well. Someone said, "Is this a streaming channel now, like Disney Plus?" I mean, how much more can we take at this point?
Yeah, let's look really quick at the hospitalization numbers
Yeah, that
on Maricopa County, the risk factors, because I think this will help with some people when you really look at what's going on with the 0 to 19. So we talked about, and you can see in Maricopa County, kids make up about 17% of the total cases, 26% of cases right now. Hospitalizations, though, you can see they're only 4% of hospitalizations, 2% of ICU, and 0% of deaths. So I think they've always been a low risk category for COVID-19, and that's again why we're not going to see very large increases in deaths with this particular surge. We will see one. It's always sad, but we shouldn't see, statistically a much larger jump.
Mm-hmm. This is through Maricopa County. I want to remind everybody,
Yes.
we are so lucky in Maricopa County to have such detailed numbers that we got all throughout this. You see those highlighted bars on the top, worth some of your time when we're done here. They've got the age groups, race, ethnicity, the risk factors, which, as we always say, Garrett, under that number, 65 years, you want to divide that apart.
Yes.
So you're getting totals.
Yeah. So you want to look at, as for example, when we look at the highest risk is a combination of 65 plus and chronic medical condition. And you can see that obviously when it comes to COVID-19, this group, it makes up about 23% of the cases, but it's 80% of the ICU visits and 83% of the deaths. So if you have a chronic medical condition and you're over 65 plus, you've always been more at risk from a severe resolution of COVID-19 than the younger generation.
And Garrett, you and I have always been 100% transparent with all of our friends on here as well. And you went through this in January. Yes. Are you feeling fully recovered now? Are you feeling 100% better, or are you still experiencing any lingering effects of having COVID?
No, I do not have any lingering effects. So I'm very fortunate in that respect.
Yeah, you got to be thankful for that as well. Okay, so all these questions are coming in so fast. I'm trying to keep up with some of them. One of the questions was, what kind of pediatric hospitalization numbers are we looking at? I think Prapel asked that. I can't get right back to the comment, but can we see the under 20 hospitalized, and where's the best place that people can track that?
Let me see if I can. I'm going to show you something, but I'm going to try to do something on the fly at the same time.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Oh, there's Prapel's question.
Yeah.
Kids, corona hospitalization numbers.
Let me go to the hospitalization numbers themselves. But I will try to see. I should have actually done this before. I do apologize. But we go to the hospitalization numbers. It will give some demographics. And this is, as you can see, we've got about 67,000 total hospitalizations, which makes up about 7% of the cases basically been hospitalized. Less than 20 years old, and that's the best we have for pediatric, is 2364. And you can see obviously nowhere near, it's about 90% less of where the 65 and older was. Now I'm going to look at my data itself really quick. I'm going to, talk at the same time, I guess, but I'm going to see if I can figure out what the percentage is right now of hospitalizations for the last week for this group, and see if it's significantly higher than this, less than what it is right now. So just give me about give me about 30 seconds.
No,
give me about 30 seconds, and I'll do this.
Go for it.
Okay.
I'm going to update some of those numbers, other numbers related to that, as it relates to kids. There are a few things that we're watching closely. Obviously, those pediatric cases have nearly doubled across the US just in the last week. We're at 72,000 cases. And so some mask mandates have been put in place. You may have heard us reporting on this throughout our newscast. There are quite a few here in Arizona already. Phoenix Union, Phoenix Elementary, Osborne, and Roosevelt, all four of those putting in mask mandates, one being challenged in the courtroom by one of the teachers already. And Creighton also considering that at their meeting last night. They did not make a decision, pushing that off a little bit longer, but saying that no mask mandate at this point is going to be put into place for that school district. Now, we have seen cases and we have seen outbreaks here in Arizona. Hamilton, as we reported, Hamilton High School here in Arizona, they had 32 cases. Now, their population is about 4,200 students. So once they get to 1%, they say they're going to put some changes in place, some mandates in place to kind of get this thing under control. But right now they're at 0.75%. So they would need a few more cases, they say, to kick into that. They did, however, cancel their open house that was planned for tonight. They have canceled that open house. The other consideration, as Garrett talked about a little bit earlier, is college and people heading back to school. And will we see a bump in September because of that when our universities go back? So that's another thing that we're watching. We also had 100 exposures. Now, not 100 cases, but 100 exposures at Desert Vista High School. And what that means is that their varsity and junior varsity football teams are not going to be able to continue practices or games. They're under quarantine, so they have to put all of their activities on pause. So really what this becomes at this point, not only protecting our kids, but making sure that they can have, they can be in school right now and that they can take part in some of these extracurricular activities that have been canceled because of exposures or other things going on. So, okay, we've got that covered. Wanted to keep you updated. You can find the very latest reporting on that on our website at abc15.com as well if you wanted some of those updates. So are you sending your kids to school masked? That's the big question. Have you made that decision? Have you sent your kids back to school yet, or are you skipping it? The experts over at Mayo were updating us as well a little bit earlier and saying that, you know, even if you weren't concerned about COVID, even if that wasn't your primary concern, maybe it's already run through your house a few months ago, that the masking is preventing everything that they're seeing earlier in the season right now. That includes RSV, influenza, and croup. So they're saying, maybe keep the masks on for all of it. So just something to consider coming out of Mayo Clinic earlier today. Marcy's writing, my child is going back, no mask. Renee's writing, my daughter feels better wearing a mask to school. Mine was kind of the same. Jason writes, my daughter just started preschool, is the only one wearing a mask. Will she be protected against all the other children not wearing the mask? That's a concern a lot of people are expressing. And Garrett, I heard you back here now with us.
Yes, I am back.
Take those numbers.
Yes. So I looked at basically hospitalizations since July 23rd and, you know, split them out just on my spreadsheet. And what I found was so if you look at the percentages for all of the age groups, under 19, under 20 make up about 4% of hospitalizations. However, they're about 2% right now. So the hospitalization numbers for this group is actually a lower share than it has been for the entire pandemic. In fact, the highest share is in the 20 to 44, which is 25% of hospitalizations are coming from that group. That typically is 20%. And then 45 to 54 is usually 17%. It's now 14. 55 to 64 was 23%. It's now 18%. And then 65 plus, which again, the most this is the most severe reactions. They're typically 44%. Right now, they're making up about 33%. So what's interesting is again that 20 to 44 group is making up a large group of the hospital, a large percentage of the hospitalizations, more so than they have been. Typically, it was always the 65 plus. They used to make up almost half of them. They're now about a third. And then and you can see there's been growth in 55 to 64. And then especially growth in 20 to 44. So no growth in hospitalizations for that under 20 group right now is what I'm seeing.
All right. Thank you for that quick math on the fly. We appreciate it. And we appreciate the question from Praypill. I know a lot of people were saying, good question, and thanks for asking that. So we're Happy to answer. Garrett, let's talk about vaccinations and the numbers. It seems like with all of this being talked about once again, and the concern, bless you, the concern coming
Thank
back
you. Sorry.
is that maybe that is spurring more people to get vaccinated. We don't. There's no scientific basis behind the motive, but we are seeing an uptick in Arizona. What, in the last week or the last 2 weeks?
Actually, today, today we had 45,000 vaccinations just today reported alone. Now, some of this was filler from back in July, but it is a much higher number. Typically, it's about 10 to 12,000 reported a day. And so 45,000, just a massive number. And we can see if we look at the AZDHS's website, which I will, in fact, I'll pull up my own data right now just to show. I'll use both of these because you know it's just better to see it my way too, because I've got the 7-day average. So let me show you mine really quick, and then we will go to here we go. Okay, I'm ready. And so this is the vaccination rates. You can see the yellow is the 7-day average. We were up here in the 60 to 70,000 a day. Back in the surge, and then we dropped precipitously until we hit a floor in early July. And now you can see we're starting to see a pretty gradual, the last 3 weeks, in fact, we've seen some pretty substantial pickups in the numbers. We're back above the 10,000, closing in on 12, 13,000 a day is what we're seeing right now. So, and then when we look at the weekly numbers, which is on the AZDHS site, I will show you where to find that. As soon as here you are. Okay, right there. We go to vaccinated. So basically sorry, sometimes I move a little too fast. So if we're on the data home, we just go to vaccine administration. And then you can see right here, there's a little button right here, kind of hard to find, but it's there. And you can bring this to a weekly graph. And you can see right now we have about 90,000 doses for the week of July 25th. And that is the highest we have had since June 13th. So here we are, gradually increasing our vaccinations for the first time for 3 weeks, 4 weeks straight now, really. Well, excuse me, 3 weeks. 3 weeks straight we've been seeing that. Hopefully we'll be crossing the 100,000 threshold here soon.
All right, Garrett, we only have a matter of minutes left. This has flown by, and I appreciate all the questions coming in, and we just can't get to all of them. What are some of the other things that we haven't touched on that you really want to make sure that we get through here today?
Actually, I think we did a pretty good job covering everything. I'm looking at my tabs that I opened for this, and we've covered all my tabs. So I think I just want to reiterate, because there's a lot of misinformation in the comments.
There is.
I want to reiterate that as far as the variants are concerned, okay, there is a test for the Delta variant, okay, and this test shows that the Delta variant is about 80% of the COVID-19 cases out there. This is not up for dispute, okay? So if someone tells you, oh, well, they're not testing for Delta, they're just making this number up, that is not true. There is a test for this. So do not believe when you see that. Now, just because you don't get a letter in the mail saying, oh, you got Delta variant, doesn't mean that it's there. Things are done statistically. Statistics is it is a medium for a reason. You can statistically sample things and know where they are. If 80% of the samples are coming back, there's a very good chance that the community spread for Delta is 80%. It's not going to be 30% or something like that. So just remember that when someone tells you they don't test for COVID-19, that is just not true for the Delta.
So if you want to get the test, because Jody's asking, what is the test? You go get either a saliva test,
just a COVID-19 test. Yeah,
COVID-19 test. It's run for Delta. It's nothing you do. You just need to make sure that the place you're going to test for it. And I can tell you that ASU does test for it. I was just there 2 weeks ago. So
but again, you probably won't get a letter in the mail saying you have Delta. You probably have Delta because 80% of the tests are coming back as Delta.
Yeah. So glad we can hopefully clear that up. Some people were asking about Lambda. Yes, we talked about Lambda a little bit earlier. There's about 1,000 cases in the U.S. It started in Peru. So just to cover that again.
Yeah, and this is actually the other side of the media coin. As far as Lambda is concerned, because Delta is so transmissive, it will continue to be the dominant variant. Lambda will not overtake Delta right now. It's just not going to happen. So while it's interesting to watch what happens with Lambda or any of these other variants, it's almost inconsequential at this point because Delta is going to, for the foreseeable future, be the dominant variant.
Yeah, when you're talking about 1,000 cases versus how
Yes,
many are for
versus
Delta.
millions worldwide. Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't even compare.
Yeah.
So one of the other things we want to touch on really quick is breakthrough cases. And I want to stress that the Mayo Clinic here in Arizona gave an update, and it's posted right here on our Facebook page. Just scroll back when we're done here, a couple of live videos, and they talk about breakthrough cases. They are rare events still.
Yes.
I know that in the media, and you're seeing everybody talk about it because it's so like shocking to people that this can happen. They want us to stress that these are rare events, that they are headline grabbers. That's why it feels like you're seeing them more. But when they do have a breakthrough case, there are minimal symptoms compared to what you would experience if you did not get
and
one of the vaccines.
And in all honesty, in regards to that breakthrough, one of the data points that I don't have that is a bit of a frustration to me is I do not know what the breakthrough rate is for someone who is vaccinated and has had a previous infection of COVID-19. Obviously, with the number of COVID-19 infections we've had in Arizona, that's an important data point that we don't have. So while we know what the breakthrough rate is, as far as I think it used to be 5%. Now it's 10% because Delta variant is so much more transmissive. But as you said, Katie, no matter what, the severity of if you are vaccinated, the severity of COVID-19, if you have a breakthrough case, is very, very likely not going to be a problem. It's typically going to be very, very light or moderate, but you're not going to the hospital. So
yeah, you might not even know you have it.
Yes.
One of the things I'm seeing in the comments, people talking about closing the southern border, and I just want to touch on this briefly. If you have any questions about how the numbers rated between Mexico and the US and the cases and the deaths and the hospitalizations, scroll back in these that we've done. They're all posted to YouTube. You can find them there. The numbers in Mexico were very low compared to the US early on. So if anybody needed to close the border, it should have been happening the other way.
It's not a correlative data point anyway.
Yes.
It's something that's very subjective. It's something that confirms people's worldviews that want to have that as a data point, saying, to push things off on people. Like, it's just not correlative. If it was correlative,
groups of people.
Exactly. If it was correlative, we would not have seen a surge. We would have seen something a lot more flatline the entire time, because if you look at the CBP's numbers, those numbers haven't really changed over the last year. And so this notion that a stream of people are coming from south of the border that are surging the numbers in Arizona is absurd. It's not a correlative point.
Yeah, and I'll echo exactly what Adrian's saying. It's racist. So if you're making comments like that, it's not appropriate. So I just want to remind everyone that is not an appropriate comment. So thank you, Adrian, for saying exactly what we're all feeling. All right, I hope that we got some of the questions answered. I know there were so many things to race through in all of this. I hope that we got some of the questions answered about school safety, and let you know what school districts are providing the mask mandates. That's Phoenix Union, Phoenix Elementary, Osborne, and Roosevelt. Of course, check with your school district. I know so many are headed back. Adrian writes, "You're welcome." Thanks. Michelle writes, "I love her." Okay, so hopefully that answers a lot of your questions. Again, I'm so sorry that we've been short on time. We've missed all of you. I've seen so many familiar names in the chat as well. These conversations that we had last year. I do want to say, I know it was a really hard time for everyone to get through, but I hope that we were able to provide you a little more information and leave you really armed with information so that you can make the best decisions for your family and your life. That's the thing that we always want to stress there. And loving all these comments coming in here at the end. Thank you so much. When will 12 and under get the vaccine? Michelle's asking. I do want to answer that because we just got an update from Mayo. They have started the trial for the younger groups in earnest. They say, Mayo Clinic told us this morning, in earnest. Those trials started in June. They have a longer stream of reporting that needs to be turned in for this age group. It is 6 months of reporting. So this is going to be something that's a little bit longer than our age group, our adult age group. And, they were saying they hear both sides. They hear, why is it taking so long? And they hear, why rush this? So it's like they can't win, but they're still pushing through these trials to sort of help get this thing under control if we can. Garrett, I can't believe we're here again. Amber, I appreciate you guys. Amber, good to see your name in the comments again. Good to see your name in the comments. All right.
I mean, hopefully,
I don't know when we're going to be back.
I was going to say, hopefully, you know, we're going to see what happens next week. We're doubling every 3 weeks right now.
Okay.
If by next week we're still doubling every 3 weeks, then, you know, we'll have the same conversation, or, you know, we're here for another month at least, no matter what. If we're following the trajectory of the first surge, we've got another month of just hanging on and seeing what happens. That's there's no other way to put it. So
exactly. So Garrett, I just want to remind everybody, like we always close back in the day, where you can find us. Garrett is on Twitter, and you can find him at Garrett_Archer. I am on Twitter at Katie Rammel. You can also find us over on Facebook, since so many of you are watching on Facebook right now. Mine is News from Katie. Kristen's writing, oh my gosh, you guys are back. Hi, Kristen. You know, we're only here for one day, so if you missed any of this, it'll post on ABC 15's Facebook page. You can watch the whole thing through. They also post it over on YouTube, and sometimes it's on our streaming devices as well. I know I'm running through everything fast. I've got to get over to the station to anchor our 5 o'clock newscast. Remember that you can find our very latest reporting at 4, 5, 6, 9 on CW and 10 p.m. In the meantime, everybody, stay safe out there.